I know I'd go from rags to riches if you would only say you care. And though my pocket may be empty, I'd be a millionaire. My clothes may still be torn and tattered, but in my heart...
Frank Sinatra once said in an interview, "For my money, Tony Bennett is the best singer in the business." And we won't hear that voice anymore. Dan, we learned earlier this morning that Tony Bennett has passed away. He died in his hometown, New York. He was 96 years old, just 2 weeks shy of his birthday. And it's harder to name a person who's more iconic than Tony, I think, for this past century in terms of singing, and the fact that he kept working up until so recently.
Yeah,
his
he was
duets
here
with
just
Lady
a couple of years
Gaga.
ago, it feels
yeah,
like.
He was here a couple of years ago as well.
By the way, I learned his real name today. Anthony Dominic Benedetto. So they shortened that to Tony Bennett.
Yes. At the time when you basically, anytime you went into show business, you'd be figuring out how to best package yourself and how to change your name so that you could reach a wider audience. Times have changed. André Ménard is co-founder of the Festival International de Jazz de Montréal, and he has some stories to share about Tony, and he joins us on the line. Welcome to Montreal Now, André.
Hello.
So tell us about any recollections you have about working with Tony Bennett.
Oh my God. Well, so many of them. He had sung a lot of times before in Montreal, but his festival debut was in 1985. And on that night, we did a TV special with Tony Bennett. So these images are fixed forever in our memory and on tape. And I'll tell you that it was a wonderful concert. And after the end of the concert, he was supposed to join a limousine in the lane behind St. Denis Theatre. And the limousine had left with another artist. Big mistake. And he asked for his way to go to Biddle's downtown. And he went there to a restaurant, jazz club. And he sang for the public for about an hour. You know. People never expected that at Biddle's. So it was, well, that was my first experience with Tony Bennett gentlemanship, if I have to say that. Wonderful man, wonderful human being, wonderful artist, so dedicated to the beauty of music, to the beauty of his art of singing. I will never forget, each time that we saw him, I saw him about 7 or 8 times at the festival. Otherwise, I saw him perform all over the world, in Italy, in France, in Monaco, everywhere. And it's always been fantastic.
Which one of your performances was your favorite? I think the one with Lady Gaga, the surprise one, was that 2014?
Yeah, well, there was a nice surprise because Lady Gaga had sung at the Bell Center the night before, and Tony invited her to join him on stage. They had recorded the album, but it was still a secret. So it was revealed in Montreal that he was having a project that had been already recorded with Lady Gaga, and they sang together on the stage at Salle Wilfrid Pelletier, to the delight of the people, you know. And then after the end of that little part of the show, Tony Bennett said to Lady Gaga, in my mind, you're one of the best jazz singers in the world. You know, Lady Gaga could just not believe that he would say that in front of so many people. And it was, I think, one of the highlights of the Jazz Festival story as far as I'm concerned.
It's such an unexpected pairing and a bridging of two very different generations. So Tony obviously loved coming to Montreal because he was at your festival so many times. How did Montrealers feel about Tony Bennett?
Well, I can tell you one thing. It was always triumphant and standing ovation, of course, and sold-out houses all the time. It never diminished. Through thick and thin, Tony Bennett was always the same man. But when his career took off again in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, he was very delighted, but to him, nothing had changed. You know, he had the same values, he had the same belief that the Great American Songbook deserved to be kept forever alive, and that's what he was dedicated to. In that respect, I think that this man had a very stable outlook on life, but when he was successful, it was cool. When he was not as successful, it still was cool for him, because this is the way he was.
Performing so late in life, I think, is also remarkable. He was here I feel like it was just a couple of years ago. How long? When was the last time he was here?
Last time I saw him, I think was, what was it? I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. He played in Montreal at the casino the last time he did. he performed in the city. I was not at that show, but otherwise, each time I saw him perform, he was always at the top of his game, you know. So I don't mind having missed the casino because I was told it was not the best performance he ever gave. But in the meantime, I had so many occasions, you know, in the past to see him that to me it was pure delight every time.
ANDRÉ Ménard is joining us. He's co-founder of the Jazz Festival, and he's sharing some of his memories about Tony Bennett. So he's being described as one of the last great saloon singers. I'm trying to think of people who've picked up the torch today. I feel like this is not a kind of genre that we see being practiced by a lot of singers. Can you name any people that are maybe going to pick up the mantle from the likes of Tony?
Well, when Michael Bublé's career really took off, he told me that he had a very warm feeling for Michael Bublé. He loved what he was doing. He thought that he was a great singer. And I think that if we have to designate one successor, I think that Michael Bublé took the challenge pretty rapidly. And, I mean, the fame that he has achieved is uncomparable. So I think that there you have one good example of people who have been influenced by Tony Bennett and made a success out of it.
I don't want to compare Tony Bennett with Frank Sinatra, but a lot of people did have those opposing camps in the 80s and 90s. You were either a Sinatra person or a Bennett person. Did you find yourself in either camp, or did you have your own appreciation for both?
Oh my God, I have a huge appreciation for both. Frank Sinatra was his own man, but Frank Sinatra always said that Tony Bennett was the best in the business. You know, he said that pretty often throughout the years. So I think that he had some kind of mutual admiration. I once asked Tony Bennett why he was not part of the Rat Pack, you know, because he was so close with Frank and with Dean Martin and Sammy Davis. And he told me, well, I had two big weaknesses. He says, I wanted to live in New York City and not rebase in Las Vegas. And second of all, I did not drink.
That's why he wasn't a member of the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Maybe that helps his longevity.
Yeah, right.
It must have helped because he remained very healthy until very late in life. And even when he was, you know, under this terrible Alzheimer's disease, he found a way to make two albums, you know. Last one with Lady Gaga, the second one that he recorded with her. It seems like he had, you know, a hard time recognizing some members of his entourage. But when he would come in front of a microphone with the music sheet, with the words, and then the music in his ears, he would sing as if, you know, he was the same guy as 20 years before. So he kind of jumped over the Alzheimer's disease to deliver some more music before he died. So I think that this really defines Tony Bennett, you know, and how courageous and how enthusiastic he was about life, you know. The way he sang, there was so much pleasure in the singing, and to hear that, you know, would sometimes really uplift you if you did not feel all too good. You know, Tony Bennett had that magic power. So until the end, I think he was a great magician of song, and he's an artist that will remain forever, you know, in the annals as a great, great performer, a great artist, and a great human being.
ANDRÉ, one last quick question for you. For someone who perhaps, you know, is a little young and may not have seen Tony during his heydays, glory days, what song or album would you get them started with? What should we go look up on YouTube to capture Tony Bennett?
After his big return in the 80s, he made an album called The Art of Excellence. And I think that this really defined, you know, the way that he has managed to come back at the top of the game. And this is the one that I would recommend for sure.
ANDRÉ, it's been such a pleasure
Plus
to get
his greatest hits.
Plus his greatest hits. ANDRÉ, it's been such a pleasure to get to hear from you and for you to tell us these stories about Tony's relationship to Montreal. We really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks.